Hi there, welcome to this week market analysis. So as usual, what we're going to do is to walk you through some of the charts over here, update you for the midweek, and we'll be talking about some opportunities for the week as well. Okay, so first up, as usual, we're going to look into is the dollar index. So for dollar index, since late last week, early this week, we did see kind of rejection from the recent low around 100.8, and right now we're observing that the market may be developing as a corrective retracement pullback. So ideally over here, we'll want to see this pullback maybe developing another 1 or 2 days, which means today and tomorrow. And that means that if we can get that, maybe the setup of a potential buy trade on the dollar will come in either late tomorrow, which is somewhere around like London session or US session tomorrow, or even Friday potentially. And as long as the market is developing as a corrective structure over here, we'll be looking for buy opportunities around that 50 and 618 retracement. And of course, our stops can be placed just below that recent low, and the target here is around 103.05. Now, this buy trade on the dollar is what I'll categorize as a short-term trade, because from a fundamental point of view, we are generally still bearish on the dollar. So any buy on DXY would be seen as a shorter-term move. Okay, trading the retracement back up. If you're looking at euro, then generally it's the inverse of DXY. Okay, so over here we're also looking at potential sell trade. The entire analysis is kind of just the flip side of it, where you can see last Friday late week, going into this week here, we did see a nice little rejection on euro dollar, and right now we're developing what it seems like a corrective retracement. Okay, so again, give it another 1 or 2 days. If you can see a slow corrective retracement back towards that 1.1011 area, which is the 618, we may have a sell trade here with the stops above 1.1075 and the target here at 1.0711 or 15. Okay. In terms of target, of course, there are different areas you can look for partial profits as well. Of course, you don't need to take full profit, everything there. This is entirely up to individual as well, right? Some levels here would be good to consider some taking profits off the trade as well, if that's going to happen. Right, so that's on the euro side of things. And then we have the pound. Now, pound over here is a little bit tricky in terms of wave 4 here, right? Right now, we do have what we call hidden divergence, where you can see A and C is slightly going higher, whereas RSI is actually very obviously coming down, right? So this is what we call hidden divergence, and usually that indicates a running flat structure, which is what we're anticipating right now. But of course, there's still that possibility where this can come back down a little bit more, break that low before that push back up to turn this into a expanding flat. But we'll see how it goes. Okay, so right now the idea is if we're gonna stick to this as a running flat, then what it means is that this should probably just consolidate around this area and not touch that low at 1.2345, and we should see a continuation upside with a target at the top. Right, so pound dollar here, we're generally looking for buy opportunities. The question is just more of like, will this be a running flat, or will this develop into an expanding before the push up? Okay, so a more safe, kind of like conservative approach would be to look for a breakout trade, right? So the idea here is maybe you want to give it all the way until London session today or even US session today. If you can see a corrective structure on the lower time frame, such as the H1, you can consider looking at a breakout point. Okay, instead of like trying to catch the retracement, you look for a break. Now Aussie dollar here, we're just gonna be neutral for now, because the market doesn't really move much since this drop, right? So we came back to 58,618. We did have a bounce, but overall it's not the bounce that I want to see, because ideally if this should go, it should go V, right? So right now, we're kind of still stalling around this zone. So what it means is that this can potentially turn into a correction, and we can drop another time. So it's not the best, it's not the clearest right now. So for that reason, we're just going to be neutral. Give it some time and see how the market's going to develop first. Dollar CAD here, we're also neutral right now, because it may have the possibility that this is the end of wave 5. okay, and we kind of start to see a deeper correction. But it's not the clearest right now because we don't really have a obvious V shape followed by a correction, right? And this can easily come back down a little bit, go back up a little bit, come back down a little bit, and then this just basically consolidate and we get another push down. So overall, Aussie dollar and dollar CAD is just not the best right now to be committing to any particular trade and direction. So we just give it more time and be patient and see how it's going to turn out first. Okay, then we have the dollar yen. Now, dollar yen is definitely a clear structure setup. We have this little impulsive push down, and then right now we're seeing a three-wave corrective structure potentially completing around the zone. And ideally, if we can give it another day and see this develops as a crawl, that will be even better because we have multiple confluences coming together, right? So we have this resistance as a channel, we have the three-wave structure, we have the crawl, we have the impulse correction as a big structure. So a lot of things are aligning. Okay, that kind of build up the probability where we may see these drops another time. So you can either look for, of course, pending entry sell area around the zone against a invalidation over here at this recent top, or you can wait for a crawl structure to develop and then you trade the breakout point. Okay, if you're trading the breakout point with the crawl structure, then of course your invalidation would just be the recent high of the crawl structure, right? And then the target is going to be the same, around 129.65. Right, so that's on dollar yen, right? So one of the clearer setups to keep an eye on. And then we have the gold chart over here. Gold is also potentially quite a clear structure that we can capitalize on. So potentially we are seeing this as wave 5, which means the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is done, and we are expecting a 3-wave pullback as an ABC towards 1950. And what we have right now is a very nice little impulse, and seems like market is developing a 3-wave correction quite nicely as well. And that will form our B wave, right? So that's going to be around that 50 and 618, and if that's going to be a nice little corrective structure to form B wave, we also have kind of a mini head and shoulder pattern over here where we can capitalize on this little move, right? So the gold trade here on the sell is considered a short term because fundamentally, again, we are bullish on gold, right? So any sell trade here on gold is going to consider as a short term trade. If you're looking at sell around that 50 and 620, of course the invalidation would be the recent high around 2050, and then the target here is 1950. Right, quite a very straightforward setup over here. And then we have the S&P. Okay, so S&P over here, we are overall bullish on that, but my suggestion is to maybe wait off and see if you can get a decent retracement first. The reason is because this is very, very corrective in nature, and I don't think this would just keep going, right? Every time you see a pattern like that, there's a good chance we'll get a retracement before the push. So I'm waiting for that, and if that's going to be coming down here, this would potentially turn into a expanding flat, okay, as wave 4, and then we'll look for one more push back up. So this one here, we are quite clear in the direction we want to focus, but in terms of setup here, we'll just be patient and wait for the pullback towards maybe 4068, 4070 area. Okay, so this one we just wait off a little bit. And then we have Bitcoin. So Bitcoin over here seems like right now it's developing a corrective pullback, which is great because then that means that we may have a little bit more upside. Right, so if I'm going to put this here as a potential mini 3-wave, that's how it's going to look like. And if you can get that, of course, then the buy area will be around the 50 and 618, giving you around 28870 to 28315. And of course, the invalidation would be the recent low here at 2650. Okay, 520. Upside here, we don't really have a direct target because you can look at it from a long-term perspective, and then you just manage your stops, trail it. Okay, and of course, alternatively, we'll be monitoring for potential obvious divergence. I mean, right now it's building up a little bit. Okay, you can see from this one here, it's building up a little bit. Okay, but it's not like super obvious right now, but we'll keep an eye on that. So if the market did give us a bounce and at this top here we start to see a little bit of a lacking of momentum, then we'll probably trail our stops, take some partial profits, and if this pulls back deeper, we'll look for another opportunities from there on. Okay, So right now, at least for the near term, this is the view on Bitcoin. Okay, we're looking for more upside if we can get that corrective structure pullback. Okay, so that's all from me for this week's update over here. All the best to your trading, and we'll see you guys in the next one.